welcome to episode 106 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I am Devin AT. You can find me online as Knitty McPurly. On Instagram, I'm at KnittyMcPurly.com, and if you would like to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Hello! Happy second Sunday of Advent, folks! Whoop whoop! It's been a great week. I was feeling significantly under the weather last week. Turned out it was like a head cold that kind of made its way through the house, but we're all fine now, so that's all good. Thank you so much to all of those of you who shopped my sale. I know I said that last week, but more orders poured in as the weekend went on, so thank you so much. That means so much to me and my family, and it means so much to me that you like the things that I make. Thank you. That is just awesome. I'm wearing my Benedicta sweater again today. I wore this to church this morning. I'm wearing it with this long dress that I got. It's actually like a summer dress. I got it from Loft. They had this end of the season sale at the end of summer, but it looks really nice with the sweater over it. And I had some people ask me about the symbolism in the sweater because I mentioned that it had Christian symbolism. I kind of thought it was self-evident, but maybe it's not. So I'm just going to go through it. We've got stained glass windows up here, crosses, and then, and this is a little bit harder to see, but I pointed this out before, I have bauble trinities here. These are M's from the Miraculous Medal. These kind of look like fleur-de-lis, but they were meant to be just, what is it, like a 5-stitch cross, you know, where it's just one stitch that sticks out on either side and then one in the middle, but they do kind of look like fleur-de-lis. Fleur-de-lis is also a symbol of the Trinity, so it kind of works both ways. The lines aren't anything. I just love doing a 1x1 color work, and here we have more crosses here, and then there's more down here. So, you know, it's nothing tremendously deep or anything, but, you know, I was thinking about like Caitlin Hunter's Tecumseh sweater, which I think is gorgeous. And when I first saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, it's stained glass windows and crosses. Like, it's so awesome. And then she named it after, I'm not sure, I think Tecumseh, who was an Indian chief, a Native American. But it was, that's kind of her thing. Like, she takes inspiration from Native American history. You know, she lives in Alaska. So, but I just thought to myself, like, how awesome would it be to design a sweater with Christian symbols in it? So that's what I did with this one. It's called the Benedicta. You can get it over on my website if you are interested in that. We are 4 days into the Advent calendar. I meant to pull the yarn out, but I'm just gonna go on Instagram and find other people's pictures to post here. Because so many of you have been joining in on the Mystery Knit Along and posting about it. It is so great to log in and see that. Now I know Advent is like the busiest time of the year for everyone, not just people with kids. It's the busiest time of the year for everyone. So, you know, and there are still people who are logging in and just downloading their clues now. No judgment. This is your thing and you can do it however you want. But the people who are doing it day by day and keeping up with it and posting about it, you fill my heart with joy. Thank you so much. So we're 4 days in. As you'll know by now, if you don't know, I'm about to spoil it for you, but the first Mystery Knit Along item is mittens. And these are so basic. They're very, very basic mittens, very fun to knit. Each day you get a new color to add in. And it's just really, really fun. I can't wait to wear mine. I've been holding off because I haven't photographed everything yet because I can't show it to you until after the knit along is over, but I can't wait to wear mine. I'm very excited. It's gonna be great. I know you guys are enjoying making those, so thank you for sharing that with me over on Instagram. Someone mentioned to me that there is a link on day 10. Well, I knew there was a link on day 10, but they mentioned to me that it was not working in the pattern. She's like, don't ask me how I know. But I wanted to tell you that I will fix that link and that video is currently posted as a private video, so you have to have the link to view it, but I'm just gonna go ahead and make it a public video. So if you get to day 10 and you haven't downloaded the new one with the new link in it and you don't really want to do that, you can just come over to my channel and find the video. It'll say Advent MCal 2022 and you can just click on it. And it's just like a 1 or 2 minute video that just details this one little process that you might be going, how do I do that? So that will be on my channel, or you can, not right now because I haven't gone in and fixed it yet, but I will update that. I think it's for clue 2. Yeah, it's for the second clue because there's 24 days of Advent and there's 3 clues. So that's 8 days per clue. So anyway, there's that. When you get to day 10, you can just come to my channel and find that video. Okay, progress and shop news. I got a little further on my sweater that I was making that I showed you last time. I'm going to show you the front. So all we're doing here is just the frost color on the bottom. And I've thought about doing more barrel and trinket at the bottom, but that will end up calling attention to the hip area. And I don't know, like I like the idea of that kind of cohesion where you're mirroring the pattern on the top again at the bottom. Like I have that on this sweater, but it hits at kind of the natural waist. And this sweater is gonna hit right at the hip bone. So that, and then I think I'm gonna have it be a little bit longer in the back because I like that shape. But I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do the frost all the way down and just keep it plain, or if I wanna mirror the pattern. Same with the sleeves. But they're not going to be fitted sleeves. These are going to be blousey sleeves. Something like a bishop sleeve, slightly, not a lot, not like a big puffy sleeve, but just basically a sleeve with no decreases. And then at the cuff, it will come in so that there will be a little bit of blousing on the end of the sleeve. But I'm going to do full long sleeves and a full, one of my favorite lengths for a sweater is to hit right at the hip bone. I think that's really flattering and I like it to kind of come a little bit longer in the back. I just think for me personally, that's a shape that I really like. I think it's kind of universally flattering. And I could mirror the pattern and then give the option to not do that. Like if you didn't want to call attention to the hip area, that's just generally kind of a place where we're not interested in calling attention. But I'm really loving it. I mentioned last week that I designed this when I was watching the movie Ben-Hur, and someone suggested that I call it the Gilded Age, which is kind of fabulous. I think that's an awesome suggestion. I didn't realize that I had put it in my notes. I called it the Athens sweater because it's Athens alpaca, which is the base that I'm using. And so that's possible. Maybe the Athens sweater or possibly the Heston sweater after Charlton Heston. I don't know. Those are my top 3 right now. Maybe I think I like Gilded, Athens, or Heston. One of those 3. If you have an opinion, leave it in the comments and I'll take it into consideration. Oh, sorry, that doesn't look very nice, does it? There we go. So when I was not quite this far, I had gotten just below the color work. I was like, do I like this? I don't know. I don't know if I like this. And I tried it on and I was like, I love it. I love it. I was so glad I did because I just wasn't interested. I just got bored. Like the color work was over and I was just going to be knitting the stockinette. And I was just like, but then I tried it on and I was like, oh my gosh, I love it so much. So that galvanized my willingness to continue working on that. Another thing is that my shop is still open, and if you would like to get something before Christmas, you should be able to get it before Christmas, unless, I mean, it's we're 3 weeks out. So feel free, you can order things from my shop still. I have wool wash, hand balm, needle, containers, stitch markers, yarn in all bases. There's a small number of allotrope hat kits left, and those are nice because they knit up super, super fast. Got my wool stack here. Yes, that's still happening. I am, however, all out of lip balm. I had like 150 lip balms and I thought, there's no way I'm gonna run out of lip balm. I ran out of lip balm. So thank you. I was giving those away free with every order. And for people who placed orders over $200, which was a lot of people, I put in several lip balms. So, and some people asked, like, can I have this many? And so I put in that many and I ran out. So I don't have any more right now. However, I am working on a new scent that is called The Bleak Midwinter, because I love that song about the bleak midwinter. And it is going to be debuting at my retreat in January. So that's going to be great. And that's it's such a great time to have a knitting retreat at the end of January, because that's such a bummery time of year. Like for my kids, it's science fair and it's cold and there's no end in sight to the cold. And so yeah, to have this amazing new scent coming out then is going to be really, really great. And I love it. I've been planning it out and it smells so good. So I'm excited about that. I've also been working on my Lent calendar, which I know a lot of you are excited about. I am super excited about it. So I've kind of fallen into this thing with my business where I've got everything set up. It has taken a few years to get to the point where this is what I want. I have what I want. I have a certain number of colors that will be always available, and I'm doing 2 calendars a year, Advent and Lent. For the Advent calendar, I have focused on easy knitting and bright colors, and it being kind of fun and easy and fun. Now for Advent, it's a totally different kind of thing. It's a much more muted color palette. The colors that I have picked for this year's Advent calendar are such that there's color in there, but when taken as a whole, the overall effect is of a neutral. I love that. It's so great. And it's a little bit more intricate. It's a little more detailed because Lent is just a different time of year than Advent. This year, Lent runs from February 22nd through April something. It's early April 5th, maybe April 4th. I can't quite remember, but it's mostly March. Now, my birthday is actually on the 21st, which is Fat Tuesday. So I am very excited about that. I've had my birthday fall on Ash Wednesday before, and that's kind of a bummer. But this year, it's on Fat Tuesday, so yes. Now, I have only made 50 of these Lent calendars. They are going to go on sale January 1st at noon. So if you want one, you're going to want to log in at that time and buy one. I think based on past events that they will sell out in an hour. That's what I am thinking will probably happen. Now, on that note, I have had to raise the price a little bit. I think my prices were kind of artificially low, just because, I don't know, I like to keep the prices low. I like for things to be affordable for people. But, and you know, about a year ago, the wool mills sent emails out saying, we've been everybody, all of my suppliers sent emails out saying, you know, we've been absorbing the price increases, but at this point, we're going to have to pass those price increases on to the shop owners. And so from then, I've been absorbing the price increases, but they're going to have to go up just a little bit. So the Lent calendars are going to be $150. I had really hoped to keep it at $125, which is what I charge for the Advent calendar, but it is 150 more grams of yarn. It's 15 mini skeins more because Lent is 40 days instead of 24. Well, 24, 25, I guess it depends. So it will be $150, January 1st at noon if you want one. I think that they will sell out in an hour. So get one if you want one. There will be 40 10-gram mini skeins of fingering weight. The mystery knit along is going to be a shawl, and it is a little more intricate than what we do for Advent because it's just a little bit more of a reflection, preparatory, prayerful time of year. So that's why I am thinking of that. Okay, this week we're going to be talking about Portuguese knitting. And the reason we're going to talk about it is because the lovely lady who contributed a story last week mentioned it in her comments. Like, what the heck? What even is that? Like, when she said it, I thought, all I know about Portuguese knitting is that the yarn goes around your neck. But why? Like, why does it do that? I don't know. So I looked into it. That's not my dog. I don't know who that is. I think everybody in my neighborhood has a dog. But it's Sunday morning at like 9 o'clock. So hush. Okay, so here's what I learned about Portuguese knitting. Most people know about English and Continental, even though we probably knit one of those or a variation of both in some instances. Some people will knit one way with just one strand of yarn, and if they're doing color work, they'll knit something different. Personally, I'm a continental knitter, and I knit continental all the time, partly because I don't have a lot of spare time in my life to be learning to teach. Like, I can teach my brain it, but to teach your hands a thing takes a lot longer. So I just stick with what I do well and what I know, and that's what I do. But there's also Portuguese knitting, and this is something that's totally different. It's really interesting, so bear with me. So we call it Portuguese knitting, but it is also sometimes called Incan or Andean knitting because they often do it in South America. Sometimes it's even called Turkish knitting. The main proponent of this style of knitting in the US is Andrea Wong, who has a DVD outlining the method and demonstrating all of the techniques. She apparently also has demonstrated it on Knitting Daily TV. What is that? Have you guys heard of Knitting Daily TV? What is it and where do I find it? Because I want to know about Knitting Daily TV. Don't you feel like we're like the target audience for Knitting Daily TV? And I've never even heard of it. So let's find that. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. There's also a Craftsy class by Patty Lyons that it's called Improve Your Knitting, Alternative Methods and Styles. And she looks at a bunch of different knitting methods, and there's a 40-minute segment dedicated to Portuguese knitting. So why do we care about this? Why are we even interested in this? I mean, I'm kind of interested because I don't understand, like, why around the neck? I don't know. But a reason for learning it is because it is good for people who have carpal tunnel or arthritis or joint pain because you use less movement to make the stitches. So last week we talked about Irish cottage knitting, where you keep a needle tucked under your arm, and that is also good for anyone who has those symptoms because it's just less movement. And I got some comments from people saying that, like, it's less movement and I love it for that reason. So that's why I use it. And it actually really helps if you have one of those syndromes. So that's really interesting. And the purl stitch is even easier. One thing that I learned is that when people who knit Portuguese are working garter stitch, they purl every stitch because it is easier to work than the knit stitch. And now that I've learned a little bit about it, I can see that it looks easier. So we're gonna go into that. The stitches come out looking exactly the same. And when you see the technique worked, you see why. You're doing the exact same stitch in the knitting. The only difference is in what you're doing with the yarn. So that it does look the same. So basically, you are holding, you've got the work in your left hand, just like you would for regular knitting. The yarn is tensioned around your neck, so the yarn is coming straight out of the knitting on the front side, whether you are knitting or purling. That yarn is always coming out of the front, and it goes around your neck, and you tension it with your right hand so it looks like you have a yarn ring on. It just goes around your middle finger. And you think, well, how does that work? Here's how it does. The tensioning on your right hand doesn't really do much from what I can tell. Now, I have not tried this. I'm going to link below a Very Pink Knits video where she shows you how to do it, and she does it so well. So I'm not going to demonstrate it today, but basically all of the knitting happens with your left hand. You're holding the knitting, and the yarn that's coming straight out of the knitting kind of removes your need to hold it, because you're not holding it. Your right hand's over here tensioning the yarn, but it's not involved. It is the left hand flicks the yarn with the thumb, and then I guess your right hand is holding the needle. It's holding the needle, and that's all. But still, it feels so weird. Like, I just can't imagine it. But if you want to see it, click the link below for Very Pink Knits, and she explains it and demonstrates it super well. Part of it going around your neck, you can use a knitting pin to hold it in place. I don't really, like I said, I have not tried it, but especially with color work, if you have more than one pin, you could, theoretically put them in different places, and that would keep your yarn from getting less tangled, which would be nice. But this is another cool knitting accessory that we could use, I guess. It's just basically a pin. You can use like a safety pin and a binder clip, but it's just basically something to keep your yarn in one place. But it's another cool accessory that exists. I apologize for not demonstrating this for you. Like I said, I just can't. But I forget the name of the lady who does Very Pink Knits. She shows it, Andrea, maybe? She shows it so well. So click that video if you want to see more about that. All right, moving right along to knitting fantasies. This week, we're going to talk about Christmas ornaments. And all of these patterns come from Etsy. I was on Etsy earlier this week, and it was because I get all of my math worksheets from Etsy. You can buy a bundle of like 500 fact sheets, and I will have to log on to print them out every now and then. And for some reason, Etsy wasn't working right. And so this error message popped up. I'm going to put it on the screen. It says, "Oops, there was a problem." And it is adorable. I just thought, this is so cute. I have to show you this on the podcast. There's a woman, and she's knitting a sweater, and oops, it has 3 arms. I just thought it was so funny. It's so appropriate for Etsy, and it's just so cute, and it's just an adorable little drawing. And I thought, it's just great. I love it. Anyway, this week we're talking about Christmas ornament knitting patterns. And I just wanted to go through a couple of them. My first pick is from Knitting Lab Shop, and these are very traditional Christmas balls. They're colorwork Christmas balls. This comes in a few different languages. English is one of them. It comes in English, German, and whatever they speak in Holland. I don't know what that language is, but these Christmas balls are stuffed with a fiber fill. So I know that sometimes when you knit a Christmas ball, you have like a plastic or glass ball in the middle. Glass feels like a terrible idea, because if that drops and breaks, what do you do then? But sometimes people will knit around a globe. That is not the case with these. These are stuffed with fiber fill, so you'd have to kind of manipulate them to get that perfect round ball shape. Also, I looked in the description and I didn't see a yarn weight. Looks like worsted. Probably, you could use whatever weight of yarn you want and just get a different size ball. You would also have to adjust the needle size to kind of get a nice tightly knit fabric, but that's easy to do. My next pick is from Amy Gaines, and these are amigurumi ornaments. They're so cute. They're just these little heads of snowmen and Santas and elves. They're just adorable, and the picture is so cute. They're really affordable. I don't remember what the price was. It's in the picture, but they're really affordable, just so cute. These are worsted weight, and I think they're about 3 inches, so it looks like they would work up really fast. I found this other one from Amy Gaines. She has a bunch of Christmas patterns of this type where it's an ornament set. And this is one of animals wearing scarves, and they're so cute. Like, she just has a ton of cute things. I just found her. She's new to me, Amy Gaines. But all of these are worked with worsted yarn and just adorable. My last 2 picks are from Fluff and Fuzz, The first one is called the Make It Merry Tree Decorations. And these, as well as my second pick from them, which is an adorable nativity, looks like they're kind of doubling up on wise men and Joseph. Because I see Mary and I see some animals and I see wise men, but I didn't see Joseph in there. So you could probably just make another wise man and put him in a different colored outfit, and that would be Joseph. Now, these two patterns from Fluff and Fuzz recommend a DK or a light worsted. But again, you can use whatever size yarn you want to, and just, your ornaments will change in size. Rebecca Danger talks a lot about this in her book, 50 Yards of Fun, where she's like, I think you pretty much can make them in worsted as kind of a generic size, but she goes through all the different sizes of yarn from fingering up to super bulky, depending on what size you want your little creature to be. And you just size up your needles as you go. Now, Fluff and Fuzz recommends acrylic. I can see why. It's funny, I have this little crocheted Christmas stocking that my brother made in home ec class. And I still have it on my Christmas tree. And the kids will be like, whose is this? Because everybody has their stocking. It's like, well, whose stocking is this? And I'm like, I don't know. Uncle Dan made that in 1987. I don't know. And it still looks great because he made it out of acrylic and it's crocheted. It's not knit. But I should bring that up. Maybe I'll show a picture, or I'll bring it up maybe for next week. But yeah, making Christmas tree ornaments is really fun. And I don't think I have any hand knit Christmas ornaments on my tree. And I think that needs to change. I think I need to make some for sure. Wouldn't that make a fun advent calendar? Ornaments? Just a thought. All right. So I am adding in a new segment to the podcast called Comment Roundup, because you guys leave me amazing comments, and I always read them, and I sometimes respond, but these comments are so often so well thought out and containing such good information that I don't just want them to drop into the comment bucket. Like, I want to read them on next week's podcast. So I have chosen a few comments from last week's podcast to read for you to share this week. So any comments you leave me below, if you would like to, write something, I would be happy to share it next week. I won't choose all of them. I'll choose 3 or 4 and share them on next week's podcast in the comment roundup. So last week I talked about my Christmas nativity, and Lisa McCartney left this comment. She says, I knit 3 sets of the nativity for each family group and gave them out at Thanksgiving so they can enjoy them before Christmas. They were such a fun knit. Thank you so much, Lisa. That is awesome. Christmas nativity knits up super fun. It's got a little photo tutorial in there to show you how to work it up, and it's just really fun. I haven't knit any since I knit my original ones, but I would love to go back and knit those again. Kelly P 725 said, I hope you feel better soon, because I wasn't feeling well last week. She says, I got my own Colby's Little Flowers sweatshirt on its way, and I can't wait to wear it. So last week I wore my sweatshirt from Colby's Little Flowers. I don't remember if I wore Knit, Pray, Love or Pray, Knit, and Don't Worry. I have both of those. They're awesome. They're just great sweatshirts. And if you want to get one, use code Knitty10 for 10% off. Kelly P also says, I love the nativity set. It was the very first pattern I ever purchased from you in 2019, and I think it's time to make another set. Well, Kelly, if you do, I would love to see it. Bennett DL says, I'm a fairly new subscriber to your podcast and have gone back and viewed many of your older podcasts. In addition to being a fan of your knitting and designing, I admire your openness in discussing your health and your faith. You may have seen this, but I wanted to recommend the Faith and Knitting podcast. Rhonda invests a lot of time in preparing her podcasts, and I thought you might enjoy them as I have. Thank you for putting together such a nice podcast. So that sounds great. Faith and Knitting is the name of this podcast, and the woman who does it is Rhonda. So put that on your go check it out list. Here is another podcast recommendation. This one was sent to me by Jeanette, and she sent it over email. She says, I found a podcast that's new to me. It's called Bella and Cello, that I would like to recommend. These girls who put on this podcast are 15 years old and twin sisters who are Catholic. They are homeschooled and the youngest of 11 children. Oh my gosh. And they have a podcast. Like, I love it. I cannot possibly love it anymore. I've had goosebumps. I cannot wait to go check out this podcast. Jeanette says they share their knitting, cooking, and book reviews in addition to just their day-to-day life. They are truly a breath of fresh air, just delightful. Go check out a few of their episodes and use your podcast, my podcast, to give them a shout out. So the podcast is called Bella and Cello, Chelo. Celi in Latin means heaven. So I'm guessing that Cello is cello, I don't know, is a play on that. I don't know. Maybe it's short for something. But we need to go check out their podcast too. So I am definitely going to be checking that out today and subscribing for sure. So leave me a comment if you want, and hopefully I will read it next week on next week's podcast. And that brings me to, so here's what happened, but I do not have a knitting story. So I will just ask you, send me your knitting story. It's so funny that last week, the wonderful story that I read, she was like, I don't really feel like that's even a story. And some commenters said, that story's so great, how do we even follow it? Like, how do we even send something after that one? So your story that you're thinking, I don't even know if that's a story, that's just my life, that's a story. And we will love to hear it. I love a video. If you want to send a video, that would be amazing. I would love to include that. If you want to just write it out, I am more than happy to read it for you. Send me your story. Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Leave me a comment, send me a story, and enjoy your Sunday knitting. Can't wait to see all of your Advent knitting on Instagram this week. Oh, use the hashtag, I think it's in the first clue, but it's hashtag KMP Advent Calendar 2023. I think it's 2023. Might just be 23. I can't remember. But I have it on Instagram anyway, so go check that out. All right. Bye, knitters. Have a great day. Okay, Charlotte's here. She has found a knitted thing.
So loud.
Am I? Well,
yeah.
It's a video. So I wore my Benedicta to Mass this morning, and Charlotte wore her, I think it is, that's the back, because I see the seam. Or not the seam, but the, okay, well that's...
I don't know how to hold this.
So she wore her wee faucette to Mass this morning, and so we were buddies. Anything else you want to say?
Actually, two more things.
Oh, okay.
This. Wait, let me hold the sweater.
Okay. Okay, and did you have anything else you wanted to share with us?
Oh, I thought my head would go like that. But...
Okay.
So I was thinking, right now, do you know how we're filming?
Mm-hmm.
For your knitting?
I don't know what that is. Oh, this? Yeah, that's in the picture.
Okay.
All right. Goodbye.
Wait, first.